Revelation chapter 20. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads, or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven, and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So Revelation 20 is a pretty big chapter of Book of Revelation, notably mentioning the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ, and then how Satan is loosed a little season. Just a very strange part of the Bible, one I still don't even completely understand why it has to be like that, but I don't make the decisions around here, and it is what it is. And in my last video, I mentioned how some people think that the 1,000-year reign already happened, and that's the explanation for all the Tartaria buildings. But I mean, those ones, I guess this is one point I didn't mention in the last one. In my opinion, a big thing about the old world buildings that we see, I think that they survived Noah's flood. I think that there's tons of buildings out there that we can see that they were there before Noah's flood. So that's why I don't think that those buildings are the 1,000-year reign buildings. Okay, so anyways, there's an angel with a giant chain and the key to the bottomless pit. And in verse 3, it mentions how the devil is the one who deceives the nations. And that's just something that comes up multiple times in Revelation. Isn't this the second time I've mentioned that? And how important that is. Just a lot of Christians, they believe literally everything. They believe anything that's on the TV. They believe all the most ridiculous stories as long as it's the official narrative. Like how many skeptical Christians do you know out there? And it's just a lot of them, they don't act like there's deception out there, even though the Bible clearly says that entire nations are deceived. And that's why stuff really clicks for me, like the whole flat earth and stuff. It's like deception on a biblical scale. And then all the mocking, and it's just, it seems like most people, I don't know, what do they think? Like a Hallmark Christian, what do they think about Like, what's the great deceptions going on that are deceiving the nations? What would they say it is? Like, what are the great evils and the great deceptions of Satan? So this chapter, it describes who lives with Christ for 1,000 years. The way that the 1,000 years is written about is a little confusing to me. So maybe someone in the description can uh, correct me if I'm wrong and or explain it. So anyways, who lives with Christ for 1,000 years? The souls of them beheaded for witness of Jesus and word of God, and who did not worship the beast or the image, nor receive the mark. They lived with Christ for 1,000 years. So it almost to me seems like the end. People who are there in the end, because the rest of the dead after the first 1,000 years, there's the first resurrection where the first death have no power. It's confusing, because then the priests of God with Christ reign for 1,000 years. So anyways, all I can do is give my best guess at an explanation and check the comments if people have better explanations, because the description gets a little confusing. It seems like there's a resurrection and then Christ's 1,000-year reign. But it doesn't sound like everybody is resurrected at that point. It sounds like there's people that stay dead until after the 1,000-year reign. And because I also wondered about rapture too, because I kind of figured that people who were raptured also would be in the 1,000-year reign. So the 1,000-year reign happens, and then Satan is let loose again to deceive the nations again for a little season. And it's like it all happens over again. And to me, that's just one of those great mysteries that it'll be explained then. I mean, if I end up being a part of the 1,000-year reign, I'm guessing that it'll be explained what's going to happen with the whole being let loose again and why it's going to be like that. I mean, maybe it's a way to get more souls, just one last chance because total and utter destruction needs to happen to Earth at a certain point. That's more of what gets talked about very soon. New Jerusalem coming down from heaven, because I think all this stuff has to happen before New Jerusalem comes down from heaven. There's going to be the 1,000-year reign. Satan's going to get let loose again. There's going to be a huge war. So I thought it was interesting how there's 4 quarters of the earth. I mean, that makes sense. But then Gog and Magog. So it's two main places, I guess, Gog and Magog. Verse 12 talks about a literal book of life. I do believe that there literally is a book of life with everybody's name in it who will be saved. And verse 13 mentioning death and hell being thrown into the lake of fire, and that being the second death. There's a lot going on. There really is a lot. You could probably sit here and try to draw some various diagrams between first death, second death, first resurrection, second resurrection. But something worth noticing is verse 13 mentions, well, verse 12 and 13 mention being judged according to works. So it's a continued theme throughout Revelation, repenting and being judged according to works. And that kind of stuff just always seems obvious to me. And no, that doesn't mean it in a phony, like, oh, make sure that you get caught on camera as much as you can, like handing money to homeless people and all that stuff. Like, God knows when you're in the situation and you're given the choice to do the right thing and nobody's watching. God knows every scenario that's ever happened like that and knows the choice that you took. And anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. We're almost done with the series, and then I probably will take a break after this. I don't know. I don't have any ideas for what the next thing would be. But you can leave a comment if you want. God bless everyone.